Hey everyone, it is Ellen from Advocate of Soul podcast. And you know why I do these stories? You know why I love to listen to people is because I believe that the human journey, the human story is really important. And in this time when the planet is going through all its tumultuous waves and there's so much chaos and so much crap that just seems to keep hitting the fans, we need to hear people's stories of where they've overcome, where they've conquered obstacles, where they've surrendered certain things and became even bigger in themselves and realized the courage that they have. So it's a real joy and an honor to have you here. If you're listening, please hit subscribe throughout this whole episode and continue to get wonderful and enlightening content from Advocate of Soul, ones that is raw and unfiltered. Today, I have with me Darren Adams, and Darren and I met actually in the Start Over book series, didn't we, Darren?
Yeah, we did. Certainly did. Pleased to be here.
And we're both co-authoring a book, and it's all about our journeys. And so I wanted to give Darren an opportunity on my podcast just to share more of his story. He comes all the way from Scotland, so he has a thick Scottish accent, which I absolutely love. And I just think it's so amazing to just chat and talk with him. But let's center in a little bit. So, Darren, tell us who you are.
I'm Darren Adam. I'm 51 and I'm a human being. First and foremostly, yeah. But it's been, and to get to that point, it's been a crazy journey. Uh, I'm also a Wim Hof method instructor, which really changed. Finding the Wim Hof method really changed my life. It gave me a spiritual practice. But how did I get there? That was the question. I mean, that was like one of my defining moments, the light bulb moment, let's say, in my life. That was 7 years ago. And but up until that point, it was just carnage, let's say. And I mean, it's just my earliest memory of my childhood is of my parents fighting. I was probably about two, maybe younger, let's say two, and the impact of that uh, like a year later led to my mother abandoning me and my daughter, I mean my daughter, my sister, and my grandmother's doorstep. Uh, and now later in life, I know the effects that's had on my body and my mind. So from there, I mean, it's been a rough ride. Now, I mean, it's a roller coaster, like uh, especially at that age when I was that young. Now, I mean, I totally didn't know anything. Uh, and the effects it was having on my body. Then from there, and I mean, I've spent time. I was raised with my grandmother. She's very narcissistic, uh, very controlling. Children weren't allowed to speak on a Sunday. If you did, I mean, you got a bit of clout. Uh, very strict. Now, and it's to some extent couldn't take part in like gym class because of bruising on her legs. And yeah, I mean, it's been a hard journey. That part of my life was. Then up to a point, my sister had enough of living like that, and again, there was a lot going on in the family household. I mean, my grandfather was there, my father was there as well. Very confusing uh, environment for a young child to be in, and one didn't know where his mother went to. Uh, my father had suffered from his own PTSD from the military. Uh, Drank a lot, was very. He was absolutely perfect when he didn't drink, and when he was there, he was very nice man. Still is a nice man when he's not drinking, but as soon as he drank, it opened up a can of worms, and this is where the abuse came from. Now, and it was violent, uh, very aggressive, reenacting all the things he'd seen in the military, and he was just telling his story. But when you're 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 year old and you're being grabbed by the throat, uh, it's it devastates your whole mindset of what's actually going on. And this is a caregiver, and I mean, this may be my father. At the same time, I've got my grandmother beating me for having dirty shoes. I mean, what kid doesn't have dirty shoes?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, no, and it's then it came to the point where obviously my sister was there as well, and she was going through the same experiences, if not worse. Uh, then one day I went to school and she never came back. She managed to get re-engaged with my mother somehow, and then she basically ran away. So I was then left in this environment by myself. Me and my sister sort of kind of protected each other, uh, and looked out for each other up until that point. But obviously there was so much going on in her life as well now that she had enough. Then she had to leave. But I think I got away with it easier than what she did. She went away and spent a year with my mother, who then put her into a children's home. So I think she get the more rougher of the deal out the two is.
Mm.
And so, I mean, and from there on in, I mean, throughout that time as well, and I mean, it made me very, very, come into a people pleaser. Obviously, you're obviously trying to please, keep one not being like beaten, so you're pleasing them. Try to be on your best behaviour, and obviously that has a knock on effect. Now and again, to always try to please people, and that's when it ventured off into like being bullied at school. Now, I mean, first sign of any aggression was just submissiveness. So that was kind of like how my life was when I was a child growing up.
And it, like when you were in school or you were dealing with children your own age, did you find it was very hard to have relationships because of what was going on at home?
Yeah, I still struggle at the moment now, and now and it's as a functional adult now, and it's
Mm-hmm.
trust is a massive thing for me now, and it's again, it's even talking. I mean, like having a conversation with people. I mean, I find that difficult as well. Because again, there's like because my body is so accustomed to being hyper vigilant.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, no, and it's an interesting way of living. I mean, but again, it's going back to finding the Wim Hof method, intentional breath work, and down regulating my own body and finding myself in the present moment, coming back to the present moment and stuff like that was one of the life changing moments in my life.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So before we talk about the Wim Hof method, because I don't know a whole lot about it, so I'm actually kind of interested to know and learn more. But you talk about how your body was hypervigilant, and our bodies do have memory, don't they?
Oh
They have
yeah,
memory of things that happen right down to the very cellular structure of who we are. They have memory. And it sounds like to me that what you found through the Wim Hof method, and as you continued to move forward in your life, that you were learning how to honor your body in a way that had never been honored before by other people. Would that you say that's fair to say?
yeah. And I mean, yeah, definitely. And I mean, it's emotional regulation now, and
Yes.
it's something we're never taught.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and it's you can look at it, and I mean, even my parents weren't taught that. So again, it's like how do we go forward with this? We teach our children how to do this now, or the kids now how to emotionally regulate themselves. But for me, I mean, it was always fight or flight mode.
Yes.
Now, and I was from the moment you opened your eyes, like to be like woken up in the morning was just it wasn't like okay, darn, let's time to get up for school. It was like the bed sheets were ripped off you, and the window was open, the curtains were open, the light was on. So instantly, it was a shock to my central nervous system.
Mm-hmm.
So now and then obviously come the weekend, there was trying to get to sleep was even harder because you could hear what was going on downstairs in the house, like or your your body was that hyper vigilant again because you've just experienced like being strangled.
Mm. Yes. Yes.
So now it's even as I said, I mean, I'll have moments now, and I mean, I'll have moments where I can feel these twinges in my body and things like that. And I'm like, okay, that's what that is. Right, this is what I have to go and do
Mhm.
to like sort that out.
So when you said you were in fight and flight mode, what did that coping look like?
For then, back then,
Yes, back
uh,
then. Yes.
what you did then it was just that I just went into myself, just shut down,
Hmm.
totally dissociated from the situation completely, and I can just closed in. And I find that now, even in large groups, I can talk openly and things like that in large groups, but I'm very, very, again, hyper vigilant in large groups. Like when I go into places and things like that, I'm always scanning the room.
Hmm.
Not so much, and I mean, probably I'm looking for the exit,
Hmm.
uh, but it can be quite an uncomfortable way to live,
Hmm.
even as an adult now, and it's challenging. So yeah, it's that's the kind of effect like my childhood has had on me now. I can see it, and I'm trying to undo all this
Exactly.
madness,
Hmm. A lot of
and
it is unlearning, isn't it? We've
and
learned
it
all
is,
these things and now we're we're all having to unlearn what we learned.
yeah, and it's like you're like I never asked to learn that.
I know. I could totally get it. Yes. So you mentioned that the Wim Hof method was something that came into your life. I'd like to know how that came into your life and what is it and how it's impacted you because it definitely has changed the very trajectory of the course of your life in every area. So how did you even
I,
come across it?
well, at the time I was had many jobs throughout my life. I mean, from working with motorbikes to working in social care, where I started learning about psychology, uh, which became a bit of passion. I started studying it up to like the degree level. Then I left social care, which was working with adults with autism. Then I started working for myself as a tailor and bathroom fitter. And I was just on the go all the time, working and working and working. How do we deal with things in our modern day life these days? And I mean, it's glamorized. Have a glass of wine. So, or solve our problems at the bottom of a bottle. So I was using alcohol and cocaine to like suppress or uh, any discomfort or stress that I had in my body. Unknown to my friends at the time. I mean, they knew I was drinking, things like that, and we were all socially drinking. I like to say it was like I was a functioning alcoholic because I was coming home from work and I'd have a couple of glasses of wine or I'd have a few beers. That's acceptable in modern day society, but it's actually meant as functional alcoholics. Now, and it's not addressing the problem that was really at hand. Mine was unable to deal with stress of modern day life, and obviously the build up of everything from my childhood. So I was just suppressing all my emotional feelings at the time, just with alcohol. Then come the weekend, I'd go out with my friends, and next minute I'll take some cocaine. I was luckily enough. I mean, I didn't form a serious habit with it, but again, it was starting to become like from the occasional, maybe once a month to every weekend, the patterns were starting to form. Uh, but luckily enough, a guy told me who is a therapist, told me like having this open day group therapy session, and I want you to come along. You're invited along. And I thought I was going to go there because he knew I was studying psychology at the time. And I was just going to go over there and like spectate. Oh
Right,
no,
right.
no, oh no, I was
Oh
participating in
no.
that day. So I was kind of like, I feel now I was kind of lured under false pretenses, but uh, off I went to it and I went through the group set therapy. At the beginning of the group therapy session, here was this guy talking about breath work, cold water exposure, and I thought, nah, you're mad.
Mm.
Look at look at the environment you're in, and it's like you're off your head. Who's mad, me or you? You're talking about lying in ice baths and stuff like that. No, and especially to me. I mean, I'm like ex-military. I spent most of my military career cold and wet
Yes.
and miserable. So we're like, no, I'm like that's the last thing I want to do. So we tried the breath work, and yeah, I could feel the effects of it, and I was like, all right, okay. Then we went through the therapy session, but I left the therapy session and I started obviously doing some research. Who is Wim Hof? What is the Wim Hof method? You're like, all right, okay, there must be something in it. So I started practicing it, and I didn't start practicing it properly straight away. What I started doing was putting my hand in a bucket of cold water.
Okay, so I'm going to stop you right here. Okay, so I know it involves cold water, which, and ice and all of those things. So talk us through a little bit what it is, like what is its purpose and its practices before you start telling us a little bit about your own experience.
Okay, right. The Wim Hof method is a natural way to reconnect the body and mind back together
Mm,
uh, using two key elements: the air we breathe, and obviously the beauty that is cold water. Uh, and with through breath work, the intentional breath work, I mean, we're doing. I mean, we seem to like we're quieting the mind down, but there's a lot of science behind it now. We've found out when we're doing the Wim Hof method breathing, it's engaging with intercostal muscles, which is engaging with the adipose tissue, which is generating a lot of internal heat. It's basically tumo breathing. And as we know, tumo monks, when they practice their final thing, they sit in the cold for long periods of time. And they're generating a lot of body heat. Through the science now, they've now known, I mean, like, we're all capable of doing this. And this obviously, through the breathwork, it quiets the mind down enough to allow us to go and step into an ice bath. I mean, like 60, 70, 80 kilos of ice
mm,
and sit there. But once we go into that, again, we're talking eustress now. I mean, positive stress, not negative stress.
yes, yes.
So we're using it as an empowerment tool. So we're deliberately putting ourselves in a stressful environment. So we go into this environment of the cold, and there we've only got one thing we can do, and that we go straight into our survival mode, and we control the stress again with our breath. So we do our breath work, like half an hour's worth of breath work prior to going into the ice bath. But when we're in the actual ice bath, there is no breath work down there. We're just regulating our breathing with long exhales. But again, once we go into that moment, into the cold, we can't think of the shopping, the car that's needing fixed, the bills that need paid. We can't think of anything. We just survive.
Mm,
And with that, we use the only tool we have, and that's our breath. And with the long exhales, we start to downregulate our nervous system. And again, once I started learning these tools uh, and experiencing it, I started to see changes in how my life was and how I was actually dealing. I'm like, hang on, well, I'm not so stressed anymore. So
mm,
once again, it's the
mm,
knock-on effect of that is like, well, I don't need to have that drink when I get home at night, or
mm.
if I, or if I'm stressed and it's because we're producing so much dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins through the breath work. And obviously, once we go into the ice bath, we produce more adrenaline and cortisol than somebody doing their first bungee jump. The stress that we faced later on in the day or the evening isn't so much less. So
Yes.
we just seem to walk through really challenging times, I mean, quite easily because we've primed the body beforehand
Mm.
using these techniques. And I could start, well, when I'm going back to like coming home from work, I was like, well, okay, well, I don't need to do it. I sort of replaced the alcohol for the breath work. So I'm like,
Yes.
okay, I'll go and have a cold shower, or I'll do some breath work and then have a cold shower. I'll go and lie in the river,
Hmm.
uh, which has its own funny sides. And I mean, so many people have walked by me like, son, you don't need to do it.
No.
I'm lying in a river and there's like a neat pile of clothes now, and it's like, really? Okay. So yeah, no, I mean, there has been some really funny moments being in nature, and this is another byproduct of
Mm.
breath work and being in the cold. You're drawn back to nature, and again, this is what modern day society, I believe, is took us away from. I mean, our human nature. Those words alone say all. Human nature. We're meant to have our feet in the ground, barefooted, connecting to trees, plants, and everything like that. We've forgot who we are in this crazy world that we're living in. I mean, I went from being, I mean, like from being uh, elite forces, commando trained forces, and army, to now being a Wim Hof method instructor. Some of my military friends are like, "What are you smoking, Dan?"
Right.
And you're tree hugging, you're walking about barefooted, you've turned into a hippie, and I'm like, yeah, guys, this is the
Mm.
way it's to go. This is how society has to go. Because if not, we're on a trail of total destruction. And I mean, it really changed my life that way. And I mean, I practice it every day. Still get stressed, but I
Sure.
don't drink. Don't drink. I don't do I don't stick cocaine up my nose.
Now, can you do you translate sometimes just your plain old breath work in a stressful situation? Like if you're in, let's say you're in the big city and you don't have water nearby to get into, have you learned how to just kind of transfer the breath work over just
Yeah,
to an immediate situation? Let's say you're standing in line and people are frazzled and crazy. Can you regulate yourself in that moment
yeah.
as
And I mean,
well?
again, going back to your heart. Now, and really taking it back to your heart, bringing your breath and your just one of the best thing phrases I've ever learned and heard was, "That's for breathing, that's for eating." And again, nasal breathing, honestly, that's what it's for. I mean, it's just keeping your mouth closed and just inhaling. What we say to people when they're upset, oh, take a breather.
Yeah. Boy, I never thought of that. Oh my gosh, wait.
Yeah,
Yes, that's it.
yeah.
Take a
You tell
breather.
people, take a breath. Yeah, and I mean, so
Yes.
again, I mean, alone it's an amazing thing. Is stop and just breathe. Going back to the breath. It was the first thing we did when we were born. I believe we do actually prior to that, because what keeps you alive in your mother's womb?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Her breath. She stops breathing, you'd stop breathing, hence the term breath of life. Uh, so yeah, now and it's the breath for me, breath work. It was more breath work now than the cold.
Okay.
But like standing in a queue, and if it's really hectic and people are going crazy around about area, you're feeling stressed. Again, just stopping and sitting, closing your eyes, and engaging back to the breath, and just. But there's so much breath work out there now. Google it and you'll find, or YouTube it. And I mean, there's millions of different modalities. But
Yes.
again, it's just even having the awareness to that. I mean, I was talking to a friend this morning. He was talking about doing a marathon and stuff like that. Well, start mouth taping.
What
And
is
he's like,
that?
"What?
Yeah,
You
what is
you
that?
tape you tape your mouth at night before you go to sleep?
Oh, yes.
Well, but you can buy like strips and stuff like that, and you just tape it. And again, you're training your lungs." And he's like, "What? You can train your lungs?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's just like no different. You can train any other muscle in your body. Your lungs can be trained." So again, if you're sleeping and you start looking into people snoring and stuff like that as well, it has an effect. Again, what are they doing? Their mouth breathing. What happens when we're mouth breathing? We're going into the sympathetic nervous system, the fight or flight mode. So again, we can change that. Again, so we're down regulating. That's 8 hours or 7 hours of down regulating your nervous system
Mm, mm,
just by a little bit of porous tape across your lips. Now, and you're not putting it right across your mouth.
for sure.
But no, and it's like you can put a wee bit over here, you can buy the strips, and it just covers just underneath your nose, and you can still cough and breathe out the side of your mouth. It does take a few weeks to get used to, but again, at the same time, you're down regulating your nervous system.
Wow.
Now, and you're coming back to being present, and these are tools that I find so vital for life now. And it's like tell a lot of my military friends, get into breath work. You don't need to go into the cold.
Mm-hmm.
Where I do, I know I can, if I'm not in the cold or doing breath work for 3 or 4 days, I can start to feel the cortisol and adrenaline and anxiety starting to kick in again. So again, it's just like these simple tools, how to emotionally regulate my
Yes. Yes.
body.
Yes. Yes. Now, when you've been doing these different practices, have you ever had memories surface of your childhood through the times of doing these practices? Because sometimes it can lead to that.
Oh yeah, now it's people have like we call it like emotional releases, and
Mhm.
it's maybe there've been subconscious ones. When I went out and did my training in Poland in 22, uh, it was 6 days of just tears.
Wow.
I didn't even know what I was crying about, or why I was crying. I mean, it's, again, one of the most powerful moments I've had through breathwork was like me and my son were doing breathwork together, and I turned around and I just part of the guided meditation at the end of it was talking about being so grateful, and I just looked at my son and just my heart opened.
Mhm.
You get me close to tears again. Again, it's that powerful memory. And I mean, of like what it what love really means now, and it's like unconditional love has on like the human body. I mean, that feeling, the joy that it can bring, and again, to be taken there just by breathing is such a powerful thing.
Mm. Yes.
Other than that, one of my biggest powerful, like I had a vision during breath work when I was out in Poland. We're lying there doing some breath work, and it was just I could just see so many like ex-soldiers that I knew who were struggling in life, and I was like, these guys need to know this. These are the tools that are going to help solve so much like PTSD or CPTSD,
Mm.
obviously in hand with other modalities like therapies and coaching skills and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Dietary requirements. Now, and it's because again, as a soldier, we're trained to just be emotionally numb. I mean, to be a killing machine, not to feel anything. And this is what I found about the Wim Hof method was it actually started retraining me to be a human being, to actually feel and to, to and this is what they're scared of.
Mhm. Yeah.
And most people are now. They don't want to feel this way, or they don't realize this is the way out.
Yes. Yes.
No, I mean, doing the work is this, experiencing it. I mean, it's the pain, the heart that comes up. But again, learning just to accept it, talking through it and stuff like that. I mean, it's and for me, it was something I hadn't really experienced before now because it was just all that emotion was suppressed, pushed down. And I've not had an emotional release for a good few months now. Like, so thank you again. I mean, it's
You're
just,
welcome.
and
You're welcome.
yeah, I mean, but it's and it is it's like I just embrace it now, and I mean, I'll sit with it and I'll let the emotions run through me, and I know what they are. And sometimes I don't. I just like, okay, that's what it is. It's just let it run. Uh, let it do its thing. The body's sorting itself out. Uh, but again, it's going through these, and I see these guys, and I mean, they're just so terrified to express themselves in that way. Uh,
Everybody's been so conditioned too. There's been such conditioning and layering by society, by religion, by all of these things about how a man is supposed to be, how they are to carry themselves. Even women can come under the exact same thing, even though we're told we have, more an easier ability at having emotion. We too can come under that. And I know you and I have spoken at different times about plant medicine. One of the most revealing things for me was an ayahuasca journey where I just exploded in emotion and it just all came tumbling out. And it wasn't pristine, it wasn't nice. Whoo, boy, that thing was something else.
yeah,
But my body needed that release. My body was saying, "Hey, Ellen, I want you to release." And that's what it sounds like, just with not only your own journey, but just what's happening is we are coming back to being human. And part of being human is embracing those emotions, right? It's
yeah,
embracing all of it, the feelings of all of it, and not being ashamed of it, not being ashamed on this podcast to share emotion like you did right there. Knowing that you can, knowing that it's a free space to do so. And I just want to honor that with you. I want to acknowledge that with you, that I know that it takes a lot of work that you've been doing for many years on yourself. And I just want to honor that and know that you're doing the critical piece. You're doing the life saving of yourself. The cosmic energies are coming in to help you, and you're surrendering and listening to your body and listening to everything, and you're doing the work. This is a perfect example of someone doing the work.
yeah.
As hard as it is, as
Well,
hard
I
as
find
hard as it is.
yeah, no, I mean it's the part that always seem to miss out. And it's like it is hard graft. I mean, it is hard work,
Oh,
and that's the thing. I mean, you have to be willing to do it and
mm.
sit in the discomfort, and a lot of people are not. I mean, and that's where I see, especially with men. I mean, this is where they'll suppress their emotions with alcohol or drugs or whatever. Now and then the next thing you know, they're suiciding, and it's to me, and this is part of it as well. And I mean, if I can encourage more men uh, to actually surrender their this male ego and become a little bit more vulnerable uh, and nurture their inner child now, and it's because that's what it is now. I mean, so this little inside me, I know there's this little boy who needs a lot of attention, a lot of love, and yeah, I mean, he's got a lot of tears to shed, and he's never had the opportunity to do so. So yeah, I mean, and who's left to do it now? To look after him is just me now. And we have to like be re-educating people to look at themselves this way and say be kinder to yourself. Me taking time out to do breath work and other stuff like that. That's me being kind to myself. And if a byproduct of that is me crying in a room by myself, or shouting and bawling in a room by myself, and being allowed and not shamed, like people are shamed for like anger as well.
Mm-hmm.
Now, anger is a powerful emotion. I mean, it can motivate people and things like that, but and it has to be released as well, as long as it's like done correctly.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, you're not smashing houses up, or you're not beating up your partner or anything like that. But again, it's as long as it's like you're taking out on the cushion, or
Yes.
you're
Yes.
screaming, you're going out in your garden or going into the woods and screaming at the top of your lungs.
Mm-hmm.
Again, because what it is, and I mean, it's when we push it down, that's when the problems start. Because we're just suppressing the emotions, we push it down, and it just builds up, and then you can feel the energy building up, and it builds and builds and builds, and next minute, no, like for myself, and I mean, it's like because I didn't know this, and I mean, I was suppressing all my emotions. I didn't drink,
Mm.
go out, and end up in fights. Next minute, you've got the police involved. Next minute, you're in a cell. So learning how to be vulnerable and emotionally regulate myself is a life changing thing. I mean, again, and finding it through breath work, yeah, sign me up for more of that. And if I get to tell people about it, brilliant, now even better. It's and get to teach people how to do it in a safe way. Yeah.
So can you share right now a simple technique of breath work right here on here, and I'll do it with you.
Yeah, just
A simple technique that you would say can be done on a bus, can be done anywhere for anybody.
yeah, quite
Okay.
very simple. All we do is close your mouth, put your tongue on the roof of your mouth, and breathe in through the nose. Again, inhale it, but again, you want to be put one hand on your stomach, and what you want to do is you want your stomach to actually like kind of move out. And just breathe in through your nose and out through your nose. Take a big breath in and let it go. Again, out through your nose, breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. Bring your attention to your heart and slow it down. Say hello to your heart. Hello, heart. How are you doing? Again, when we're engaging with our diaphragm, because society's got us breathing up here, up our chest, panting like a dog, wee short, shallow breaths, wee sippy breaths. Even like you'll find yourself when you're typing at the computer, or mainly focusing and concentrating, you're probably holding your breath.
Mm, mm.
You don't even you don't even realize you're doing it. You're like, next minute your heart's pounding. Why is that? Your body's saying breathe.
Yes, yes.
Again, you're producing adrenaline and cortisol. Say like breathe, and it's that simple technique again. Just putting your tongue in your roof of your mouth and just breathing in out through your nose. And I mean, the science behind that. I mean, producing nasal nitric oxide. It's a vasodilator. It's having a massive effect on your body. Again, it's down regulating the nervous system.
Is there a reason that you put the tongue on the roof of the mouth?
That's from like kind of like the Eastern traditions. Again, when you put your tongue in the roof of your mouth, it pulls your lower jaw up,
Oh, yes, it does. Yeah, you're right.
And it's what we find is like we're walking about and our mouth's open all the time. Again, and we're not filtering any of the air we go in. I mean, like our nasal cavity is this amazing part of the human body where it filters and purifies and heats up or cools down the air that goes into the body. And it's like every time we breathe in through our nose, we're producing nasal nitric oxide that sterilizes the air that comes in, but it also allows the veins and capillaries within the body to dilate, increasing blood flow. And within the cell, we've got more better oxygen, we've got better blood flow, and obviously we've got these rich cells with oxygen in them are going to the parts of the body that need it. So it's vital that we actually breathe through our nose all the time.
I think tonight when I go to this play with my partner, I'm going to sit there and I'm going to practice this, and I'll get
Yep.
back to you, Darren, about it and like
Yeah.
how it
Well,
goes.
you're not saying much. No.
No, I am not. I am no, but that is so true that I can find myself too sometimes just not breathing. Like and it's not because I for any other reason than I'm just not breathing. You know what I mean? So it's a great bringing us back to the present, isn't it? It's bringing us back to the present now because you talk a lot about living in the now. And it feels like the breath work that you're doing and then the water and all the different modalities are bringing you present, being present. Because
Yeah.
it involves presence, doesn't it? To breathe in, to consciously think about it, to breathe out, consciously think. It's a matter of seconds, but it seems like it just makes a big, complete difference all around because you're in the now.
Yeah. It is. I mean, it'll take you straight to the present moment now. And within 10 breaths, you're there.
Wow.
And it's,
Yes.
again, as soon as you start focusing on, right, I have to breathe in, breathe out, and you're going through, you're actually consciously thinking about this thing that keeps us alive.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
now, because we wake up in the morning, we're so unconscious of how we breathe.
Mm. Mm.
Now, as soon as we become conscious of it, now we're going to like conscious connected breathing, again, a very powerful modality. Uh, and we start looking at how much air we're actually physically feeling, how much air we're breathing in, and putting like a prominent pause on it, then breathing, exhaling, stopping, like a 70-30, like breathing in for 70%, quick pause, and a 30% exhale. We're starting to produce, again, with that, we're changing the biochemistry within the body.
Yeah.
And it's like, I am no way a breath master. I'm so much more to learn for me now, and it's like I'm like books, piles of books on it, and I'm like, there's so much involved in it now. And there's what this vehicle we call a body is capable of doing, and how actually uh, how the brain and the body should actually work uh, in homeostasis, and how our breath has a massive part to play with it.
Wow. Wow. Now, Darren, are you a spiritual person? Would you say that you're spiritual too?
I am now.
You are now.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, I found uh, being spiritual. I found a spiritual path through breath work, and it gave me something, made me realize there was something else. Again, I was brought up in a mixed family. There's Catholics and Protestants here in Scotland. It's so kind of already the divide is already there. There's two sides, a lot of bitterness and rivalry. Then obviously I joined the army. So again, you've got social pressure on you from society for being a British soldier, and I've been called like stuff like a Brit bastard and stuff like that, or from people who I know.
Mhm.
So again, I was never religious. And I think there's a massive difference between religion and spirituality. Uh, where before, right up until 7 years ago, and I mean, it was like a case of, you asked me like if there was anything, I'd probably say there was more atheist than anything else. I just, nah,
Yeah.
not interested in it. Couldn't care less. And kept myself away from it because I actually could see what it was doing. It was just causing more division and separation within people in society. And we all know there's been more people killed through religion than what most wars are, but most wars are based on religion anyway. Uh, so I'm like, okay, stay away from that. But then the more I practiced breath work and the more shifts in consciousness I had through breath work, and obviously what you're experiencing through breath work as well, you're having these powerful moments of the present moment. Something changed. So you're having, like, especially with the Wim Hof method. I mean, it's a powerful technique, uh, and to the point I was having like these visions, stuff like, I'm like, there has to be something else there. So again, you start reading books like The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle and stuff like
Oh,
that.
yes.
Then it just seems to unlock, the breath seemed to unlock something for me to then start looking into. I think it, yeah, it really unlocks. I mean, cause you start looking at it from like, okay, right, you've got all these the yogis and doing breath work, and you start looking, doing a wee bit of research. Where's it all coming? It's like kind of like a paper trail, or, or a cookie trail, or like where you've been left all these little clues to re-step back and find yourself. Really, now, and it's like, okay. And the more research I've done, I mean, I was like, okay, looking at books and reading books, you start stumbling across people like Alan Watts and stuff like that. And
Oh,
it's,
yes. Woo.
again, so you're starting to find these people that are talking now, and it's like, I've got like loads of them now, and you start like going down these rabbit holes, and you're starting to think, well, there is something else.
Mm.
And then you start hearing stuff uh, talking about like the universe. And I mean, you bring in like in the modern stuff. And I mean, it's like you go and listen to Dr. Joe Dispenza and stuff like that. It's all this seems to like add up, and it started giving me this belief that is obviously we're these energetic beings.
Yes.
We're not just skin and bones. We're actually uh, something far greater on it now. And it's like, I had something, it was another month here I had, and it was like, okay, if we ask ourselves, close our mouths and we ask ourselves, or we say, I love you, with our mouth closed to ourselves. I just did it, right?
Yeah, me too. I did too.
Yeah. One, you seen the words. Two, you heard the words. So who was talking to you?
I love you. Yes.
So I mean, that is, you can say, oh, that's just you, the mind, and all that. I mean, but that's the consciousness. And I mean, so what is that? And I mean, this is the thing that got me. And I was like, and it still is today. I mean, what is? And there's so many scientists out there as well trying to figure out what is this consciousness. What is this part of us that's in? We say it's inside the mind, but really, is it inside our heart, or is it inside this vehicle? And I mean, it's like, you'll hear about people saying like, oh, these karmic cycles and stuff like that. You come back, you're reborn, and it's just like, we don't know. So there is, and again, like the books that I've been listening to at the moment, again, there's so much information and out there to be learned and try and understand it. And I mean, like, when we start looking at sound as well,
Mhm.
how
Oh,
sound affects the body now, and it's like, I'm like, okay, they're we really are just scratching the surface as
Oh, yes.
human beings. Now, I mean, what is our purpose here? Because I think for the last couple of 100 years we're getting it wrong, but maybe we've had to get it wrong to get it right. And it was the Celestine prophecies that I just listened to at my work the last week there. Uh, and when that was written, I can't think it was written a long time ago. And I mean, but what was written in that book, and that was a fictional book, seems to be happening right now. In the book it was written about, there was an early shift. There was going to be a shift in consciousness in human beings in the early parts of the 21st century. Hello. I mean, there is this massive shift in consciousness at the moment. People are going back to breath work in these traditional ways, reconnecting back with the earth and stuff like that. Yeah, and I'm so there is this massive shift in the moment. And again, and this is where again bringing it back to having a spiritual belief. Yeah, it's something I needed in my life.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, Darren, I feel like I could talk to you for like the next 5 days straight, 24-hour days. I'll put you in the cold. I'll do some breath work and we'll continue talking.
Yeah.
But I know that, that the time is close to ending, and I might even just have you back on again just because I just really enjoy your heart. I really enjoy um your rawness. It's like talking to the earth when I'm when I'm
Thank you.
talking to you. It like, oh, I'm starting to tear up myself because um it's like a communion with Mother Earth coming through your own body, through your own soul. And I just want to honor you. I want to honor your journey and your path. And so if people want to reach out to you, Darren, can you tell me where they can reach to you?
Yeah, you'll get me on Instagram. It's Tart Nice. Uh,
I love that one, everybody. You need to get on that one. Okay.
Tart Nice, and obviously just get me on Facebook, or you'll get me on the official Wim Hof Method website. But all my links are usually on Instagram. There's a link there that'll take you to everywhere you need to get me. All my points of contact.
Thank you. Thank you. Is there anything last word you'd like to say?
Yeah, just breathe, motherfuckers.
I
And
love it. I love
that,
it.
and that's actually I stole that by the way. So and that has got it off when women says this to everybody. But again, it's so true. And I mean, it's at the end of the day, that's all we've got is the breath of life
Yes. Yes.
in each other.
You're amazing, Darren. Darren, thank you so much for just taking the
Thank
time
you,
to
Ellie.
be here.
Thank you for your time. Thank you
Yeah.
for inviting me on.
What an incredible story. What a powerful story and journey that you continue to unfold, right? You're always
Yeah,
becoming every day. We're all becoming. We haven't arrived yet. No matter how much we want to think we have, we
yeah,
haven't arrived yet. We're all still a growth in process.
yeah.
So I just send the same sentiments, to you. May you just carry on in peace and joy, and namaste, Darren.
Thank you.